Hey guys, welcome back to the channel Everyday Carry for Everyday Guy. The Trustfire GM35 weapon mounted light. I really held off on this review because I wanted to present something that was holistic, well thought out, and gave you my true and honest opinions in capital letters about this weapon mounted light. There are some good things and there are some not so good things, and I'm going to point them all out to you so you can make the best decision for yourself. Now guys, remember, like I said, these are my opinions. One of the good parts of the GM35 is that it is only 1,699 Rand. For a weapon-mounted light emitting 1,300 lumens, that's a really, really good price. And as you can see, it's not that big. Fits in the firearm quite nicely. Now the GM35 has two modes. You've got 1,350 lumen mode, which has around 2,800 candela and has like 100 meters of throw. Then if you press and hold the button, it'll dim down to 300 lumen mode, like sometimes 38 meters of throw. And then if you press and hold it again for around 6 seconds, it goes back up to 1,350 lumen mode. We're going to talk about that functionality in a second. I do just want to say that when I ran my one reload, one drills, the buttons on this light are very nice. They aren't clicky, but they are tactile. You can feel a click, which is very important. And it's a inward press rather than a forward or downward press. I have always said, of the way to activate the light, I prefer the Surefire X300 toggles to almost everything, but I must be honest, these switches are quite nice. So that's a plus. 1,350 lumens is a plus. I would have liked more candela. 2,800 candela is quite a little, 100 meters of throw, but at the end of the day, this is, and as I'm going to explain to you, not something you're going to be using out in the field. Now, one of the issues that I have with the GM35 is, at this moment, in my opinion, this light is not EDCable. I carry in the appendix inside the waistband position, and I can't find a holster I'm comfortable enough to carry this light with. Now, I'm not saying holsters don't exist, and I'm not saying you might not be able to find a holster. I'm saying that for me, at this juncture, I'm not comfortable with the options out there to a point where I can say, if you purchase the GM35 today, you're going to be able to comfortably EDC it tomorrow. Maybe you can, but I can't. So it's very important that I put that out there. That's something that is a big deal to me. Now, with not EDCing it, I did put a good couple of rounds through it to ensure it can handle recoil. And the GM35 really can handle recoil. I didn't have a single flicker. I didn't have a single fault. The buttons were continually functional. And I put quite a few rounds through, as I said, and there was absolutely no issues. So the way the GM35 attaches is with one of these quick detach situations. Guys, the firearm is empty and safe, so don't stress about that. And it's got what I can only assume is a battery charging level indicator. So on the inside here, and I'm hoping this is going to show up, I'm about to blind myself. I can't see, but I'm hoping you can see a green dot appears. There's an LED on the inside of the light, or the rear end. That I don't consider a battery level indicator. If you take a look at something like the Phoenix GL19R, that has, is it on that side? Yeah. That has a battery level indicator on the side. I'm not sure if you guys can even see it. Because once the GM35 is on your gun, that indicator is gone. So I'm assuming it's a charging level indicator, but not a battery level indicator, because you will never be able to tell whether or not your light is fully charged or running on empty. Now, on to charge, it is USB Type-C rechargeable, and the charging port is underneath a dust cover at the bottom. Now, as we get into beam shots, as you can see, the GM35 does produce a nice amount of spill or flood, and it is a decent amount of light. 1,350 lumens is a good amount of light, but anything at more than 5 meters and your hotspot does begin to wash out a bit. For me, this is definitely, as I said, a weapon-mounted light for internal use. Really, really close range. This isn't going to be something you're going to be able to search with at distance. And it probably makes most sense as a light for people who are never going to EDC a weapon-mounted light. Something that they're going to keep by their bedside, that they're going to put on their firearm at night for their bedside or their nightstand setup, so that if they do hear something go up in the night in the confines of their home, they're going to have a weapon-mounted light option. Now, the way this light was reviewed or marketed, people could basically enter competition, and 10 of them won. And those 10 people were sort of picked at random and sent lights, and they had to review it. And a couple of the local gear reviewers also reviewed it, and I agree with some of them, and I really, really don't agree with others. And I don't blame them. At the end of the day, if you've never had a weapon-mounted light, if you've never owned a TLR7A or an X300, then yes, pretty much anything you chuck on your gun is going to be the best weapon-mounted light you've ever had, because you've never had one. And for me, this is why it's so important that gear reviewers get their hands on X300s and TLR7As, what I consider this is in my opinion, the best full-size weapon-mounted light in the world, and I consider this to be the best compact weapon-mounted light in the world. So when I compare things, I compare them to what I consider to be the best in the world, right? And when I compare O-lights and Phoenix lights and all those others, I have a really, really high benchmark I can compare them to and measure them down accordingly. Now, with some of the reviews I've seen, I was a little disappointed because I felt that certain cons were really overlooked, like the lack of candela, but also one of the major cons, and I think Quinton the Gun Guys, also South African gear reviewer, touched on this, is the functionality of the light. If I press this light on in momentary on, you see how it dims down to 300 lumens? Anyone who's done a low no light course understands the value of knowing exactly what your weapon light is going to do when you press that button. If you are in a situation where for whatever reason you are going on to momentary on, I don't want my light to dim or get brighter. I want 1350 lumens. When I press the button, when I take my finger off the button, I want it to go off. And when I press the button again, I want it back to 1350 lumens. What the Trustfire has is switch light on and momentary. It will then dim down to 300. The problem is it will then remember 300, right? So you have to press it on again, hold it for like 5 seconds, and it'll go back up to 1350 lumens. This for me is an oversight in the programming of the weapon-mounted light. I would much rather, if you are going to have 2 modes, which you don't really need in a weapon-mounted light, something like a double tap to go to a higher mode, because at the end of the day, it's important to me that if I'm pressing that button, I know exactly what's going to happen with my light. So guys, what you are going to get in your Trustfire GM35 box is as follows, and I will recap everything because I did give you guys quite a lot of information. You are going to get your Type-C charging cable, your standard little Allen wrench, user manual, cloth, and an extra mount, a 1913 mount. It does come with the Glock rail mount mounted as standard. So guys, the Trustfire GM35, it is a really inexpensive light, and that has to say something. As I've always said, it's better to have light than not have light. But purchase this light in the knowledge that this particular reviewer, at this juncture, I don't know of an appendix inside the waistband holster that I would EDC it with, the way the light functions. Anyone who's on a low no light course will tell you that knowing what your tools are going to do is vitally important. And the fact that the light dims when you're going for momentary on, it's just a setting that really did not need to be there. Most lights these days, most of the better lights have only one mode, and pretty much everyone's fine with that. The low mode isn't a big deal anymore. People want 1350 lumens. They'll even go as low as 500 lumens, right? I just want to know exactly what I'm going to get when I press the button. USB Type-C rechargeable. It does recharge really, really quickly, so that's quite nice. So, guys, that is my sort of more full holistic review of the GM35. It does work, but understand there are some pros and some cons. Comes in at a really good price, but there are some things you just can't do with it. Guys, that is it. I will see you in the week for a vlog. Have a good week. Be safe. Train hard. Cheers. God bless.